Good morning, all. This is Dr. Mahesh M. Onjeri, Assistant Professor from Department of Management Studies, SDM College of Engineering and Technology, Dharwad. This online class is conducted for MBA Semester 4 students in the subject Supply Chain Management. So, this is the part 2 of Chapter 10, Coordination in the Supply Chain from Unit 6. So, in the previous class, we discussed the news article from Times of India. Okay, so from which we try to understand how demand and supply are affected. Okay, and how the companies try to manage demand and supply. Okay, under the present lockdown with respect to demand in liquor. Then we also learned, okay, lack of supply chain coordination and bullwhip effect. So, how supply chain coordination improves and supply chain coordination requires what? And also, we learned that a lack of coordination results in okay, objectives of different stages conflict or information moving between stages is a distorted. So when okay, lack of coordination happens, then we learned a major concept, bullwhip effect. So I'd like to explain here in brief. Fluctuations in orders increase. Fluctuations in orders increase as they move up the supply chain from retailers to wholesalers to manufacturers to suppliers. Say, for example, so this is the normal demand for liquor. Okay. And since the liquor shops are now opened after 46 days, okay, there is an increase in demand. Okay, so let us assume this is the actual increase in demand. Okay. Now, but the retailers assuming that okay, the increase in demand is further higher. Okay, they stock up additional means they place further larger orders to wholesalers. Then when all the retailers, so as we know, so now the stock will last for only about 5 to 7 days in almost of the liquor shops. All the liquor shop retailers are going to place a huge order at a time to wholesalers. Okay, so then increased order in the size of retailers. Okay, the wholesaler will assume that the demand has increased and he will place a further larger order. The order which is more than the total number of retailers have ordered. So a larger order to manufacturer. So then all the wholesalers when they place their orders, increased orders with manufacturer, the manufacturer further orders additional okay, orders further additional raw materials from the suppliers. So this is what exactly it is said. Fluctuations in orders increase as they move up the supply chain from retailers to wholesalers and to manufacturer to suppliers. So this effect is called as bullwhip effect. Okay. So this is what we learned in previous class. So I'll continue from here. So why bullwhip effect occurs? The reasons. So why this increase in order goes on magnifying, okay, as it move up the supply chain ladder from consumer to retailer, okay, and from retailer to wholesaler, and from wholesaler to manufacturer, and from manufacturer to supplier of raw materials. So why this okay, fluctuations in order magnify as they move up the ladder of supply chain. So are reasons that bullwhip effect occurs. Overreacting to backlog orders. So backlog order is an order which is not yet delivered by the company. So if a company piles up backlog orders, means orders placed by the wholesalers, okay, they tend to accumulate. Okay, so when the undelivered orders accumulate, okay, the demand looks like increased. Okay, so and the company may mistakenly assume that the demand for the products has increased, whereas it has resulted from not delivering the previous orders or backlog orders. Then little or no communication between supply chain partners. So if you consider India, for example, okay, about 92 to 94% of the retailing is in unorganized sector. Okay, so there is no connectivity between retailers and okay manufacturers. So that is the reason why there is little or no communication between supply chain partners. So that is the reason again. So where retailers, wholesalers, and manufacturers together are unable to come together and discuss a situation. Okay, so there is no much scope for that kind of a meeting. So that is therefore there is little or no communication between supply chain partners. Also, it happens. Then delay times. That is the delayed lead times. Lead time is okay the time taken to deliver an order. Say once a customer has placed an order, say for example a wholesaler has placed an order, the time required to deliver the goods okay from the manufacturer. Okay. So like when I was working for the pharmaceutical company, okay, so the lead time was approximately about 15 to 20 days. Okay, so once I used to take the order from wholesaler and fax it to the depot in Bengaluru from Tumkuru. So it used to take around 15 to 20 days to deliver. So that is called the lead time. Okay, so definitely it is the delay. So delay times between order processing, demand, and the receipt of products. So when there is demand in the market, okay, retailers immediately place an order with the wholesaler, and wholesaler also places immediately an order with the manufacturer. But if the manufacturer delays the delivery, okay, so by the time the demand might have decreased or the demand might have returned to normal. And when the additional goods arrive to the manufacturer and when they are sent to the retailer, the demand might have come back to normal state. So the additional stock of goods, okay, remain unsold across the supply chain. Then order batching. So it is from customer method for reduction of ordering costs due to price discounts for bulk ordering. Say if there is a customer, okay, of raw materials, okay, so he knows that if he places an order, okay, in bulk with the suppliers, so he is going to get greater discounts. The supplier may assume that there is an increase in the demand and he may further arrange for additional materials to manufacture his components. Then bulk or okay, transportation expense decrease by ordering full truckloads. A customer may also place a larger order, okay, to reduce the transportation cost. So if the goods are full truckload, the transportation cost per unit is decreased. Okay, the economies of scale are achieved. But if in the same truck, if your goods are only half loaded, half the truck goods if you bring in, still the transporter is going to charge the same price, same transportation charges. So the transportation cost per unit increases. So to decrease the transportation cost per unit, many times, okay, buyer orders full truckloads, and the manufacturer or supplier may end up assuming that there is an increase in demand. Then limitations on order size. This is from the manufacturer side. Okay, that retailers can order products in cases of 10 from wholesaler. However, distributors receive orders in cases of okay 1,000. Okay, see like in pharmaceutical company, okay, not exactly pharmaceutical. Sometimes the companies, okay, sometimes the manufacturers keep a condition, okay, or limitation on the order size. The wholesaler has to place some minimum order if the order has to be entertained. Say for example, just for example, dealer of consumer electronics goods, okay, has to send an order for minimum 10 televisions. Only then the order will be entertained, accepted by the manufacturer, and the goods will be supplied. Okay, so due to this reason also, let us say if a dealer of consumer electronics goods can sell about only 6 okay TVs per month, but due to the limitation on order size that all the retailers or consumer electronics dealers are forced to order minimum okay 10 units of televisions. So when the televisions arrive in that month, the dealers are going to sell about 5 to 6 televisions, and 4 televisions still be remaining. So the most of the electronic goods retailers may not place an order for the next month, but the company assuming that 10 per month, okay, per dealer, the company might have scheduled its production accordingly and might have already placed an order for components and spares. Inaccurate demand forecasts. Okay, we have learned a chapter on demand forecasting. So characteristics of demand forecasting, factors influencing demand forecasting, where we learned. Okay, so what affects demand forecasts? Say for example, if the demand forecast is not aggregate, like if the retailers and the manufacturers, retailers, wholesalers and manufacturers are together, if are not involved, okay, in forecasting, the forecasting tend to be inaccurate. So when the demand forecasts are inaccurate, the company might have considered a very larger demand, okay, but whereas in actual the demand might be quite low, but the company schedules its production for the forecasted number of units, accordingly arranges for supply of raw materials, and accordingly sends the goods to wholesalers. So but since the demand forecast will be very high inaccurate and the actual demand will be very low, so a lot of unsold goods, okay, are left within the supply chain. And free return policies. So with respect to some products, okay, so if they are not sold, for example, okay, or if they expire, company have a policy. In some cases, companies have a policy to take the goods, okay, back from the wholesalers or retailers. Okay, and either cash is returned to the intermediaries, or that worth new goods are given back to the intermediary. So in such a case where the retailers and wholesalers do not see any risk of carrying additional inventory, unnecessarily they order larger quantities. So this may again, okay, make the manufacturer assume that there is an increase in demand and he may arrange for additional production of the goods. But whereas the retailers are actually ordering huge orders because they don't see any risk in keeping a large level of inventory. If the products expires or after a certain due time, the retailers and wholesalers can always return the goods freely to the company. So due to the company's free return policies, also, okay, bullwhip effect occurs. Okay, so these are the reasons. So we learned what is a bullwhip effect. Then the same thing, bullwhip effect explained, okay, through a figure. Then the reasons why bullwhip effect occurs. Okay. Then yeah, one more part I will complete. Then I will go for your questions. The effect of lack of coordination on performance. See, bullwhip effect also occurs due to lack of coordination in the supply chain. So I repeat, bullwhip effect also occurs due to lack of coordination in supply chain. That is why the bullwhip effect concept is learned in this chapter, sub coordination in supply chain. So other than bullwhip effect, okay, what is the effect of lack of coordination on performance of supply chain? So let us see. Manufacturing cost increases. Okay, so due to bullwhip effect, if we consider, so when the company assumes that there is an increase in demand, whereas the demand is actually normal, okay, the company arranges for additional, okay, manufacturing of the goods. So when the company has to arrange for the manufacturing of additional goods in short term, okay, the cost of manufacturing the additional goods will be very higher. Then inventory cost. Okay, the company unnecessarily orders excess raw materials, as well as the company also has a excess stock of finished goods. So when the inventory increases, the inventory carrying cost also increases. Replenishment lead time increases. Okay. So due to the company considers, okay, a large number of incoming huge orders. Okay, say for example, if we consider the liquor market situation in Karnataka for the time being, okay, now, so within next 3 to 4 days, most of the liquor retailers are going to place a huge order with the distributor. Okay, so when most of the liquor retailers are going to place the order suddenly together in larger quantities, it will be difficult for the distributor and manufacturer to supply the same orders within shorter period of time. So it will take a longer time for distributor and manufacturer to supply the retailers orders. So that's we say replenishment lead time increases, and products go out of stock in the retail store, and retailers experience out of stock situations, and they incur cost of lost sales. A level of product availability decreases. Okay, so those who are visiting liquor shops, okay, you can find out now. So from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, today is Thursday. If you go and check the stock or product availability in the most of the liquor shops, it has drastically decreased. Okay, it has drastically decreased. Transportation cost increases. So as the companies have to arrange for additional transportation, okay, due to the increase in demand as assumed by the company, so the transportation cost increases. Labor cost for shipping and receiving also increases. Then the activities increase, okay, like the manufacturing, okay, increases, okay, the loading and unloading of the raw materials at the factory, as well as the transportation of the finished goods from manufacturer to wholesaler increases at the wholesale point, again loading and unloading activities. So these all lead to labor cost. These all lead to increase in the labor cost for shipping and receiving the goods. Okay, now, so what example I have been giving? Okay, let us say imagine. So though most of the companies are now aware about bullwhip effect, okay, and the present situation of liquor demand, increase in demand for liquor, okay, is temporary, as I discussed in the previous class. And after 3 to 4 weeks, the demand is going to stable, or the demand will going to come back to normal. But just in case, okay, so I repeat, just in case if the companies do not consider this bullwhip effect, and if the distributor and manufacturers assume that this increase in demand for liquor is going to be a permanent one, so what the manufacturer will end up? The manufacturer will end up manufacturing additional, okay, goods or additional liquor, okay, and they are going to supply the wholesalers, and wholesalers are going to supply to the retailers. But once the demand comes back to normal, a lot of finished goods or a lot of liquor stock is going to remain across the supply chain with the retailer, with the distributor, as well as with the manufacturer. And then each stage end up blaming the other stage. Okay, like the wholesalers may blame the retailers for placing the larger orders initially, and after 1 month placing either no order or placing a very smaller order, whereas the wholesaler will have a excess stock. Similarly, manufacturer may blame wholesaler for initially wholesaler placing a very large order, okay, and very next month wholesaler may not be ordering at all or placing a very smaller order, and a lot of unsold goods left with manufacturer. So that's why relationships across the supply chain worsens. Each stage end up blaming the other party. So due to which, since a large, due to the various, okay, increase in costs, okay, due to the increase in manufacturing cost, inventory cost, okay, and due to the decrease in product availability, okay, so the profitability decreases. So the overall profitability of the overall supply chain decreases. Okay, so this is how it is, but I hope companies are very well aware about this bullwhip effect. So the present demand for liquor is the increase in the present demand, okay, is only a temporary one, and after 3 to 4 weeks, the demand is going to come back to normal. Okay, so now I'm going to unmute you here. So kindly understand that I mute you all together to save time. Okay. Then those students who do not have questions, kindly remember to mute your audio, okay, within 2 to 3 seconds. Okay, please do not forget. And those students who have questions can ask questions. Okay, any questions from students? Any questions? Okay, so students do not have any questions. Okay, so I hope the concepts are easy to understand with the example, and I'm going to mute you all again, and I'll continue with the remaining part of the chapter. Now, so now in the previous part, Okay, we learned reasons why bullwhip effect occurs. Okay, the reasons for bullwhip effect and the effect of lack of coordination on performance of supply chain. So next part we are going to learn. Let us say, so knowing this, companies try to achieve coordination in a supply chain. So knowing that bullwhip effect is going to occur, okay, knowing that lack of coordination in supply chain is going to lower supply chain profitability, companies, okay, try to achieve coordination in a supply chain. Okay, but most of the time it becomes difficult for companies to achieve supply chain in coordination. Why? Because of the following obstacles. Okay, like if you remember, communication barriers. Okay, so what disrupts the smooth flow of communication, decoding, and feedback? So you might have learned some barriers in communication. So similarly, these are the barriers in, okay, achieving coordination in a supply chain. So these are the obstacles, okay, to coordination in a supply chain. Due to these obstacles, okay, many times companies are unable to achieve coordination in a supply chain. So these obstacles include incentive obstacles, information processing obstacles, operational obstacles, pricing obstacles, and behavioral obstacles. So we are going to learn them one by one. So the first obstacle, okay, in achieving coordination in a supply chain is incentive obstacles. Okay, so local optimization within functions or stages of a supply chain. Okay, so local optimization within functions or stages of a supply chain. Okay, so stages when we say retailer, wholesaler, manufacturer, and supplier. Functions when we say order processing, inventory, warehousing, and transportation. So when I say functions, order processing, inventory, warehousing, and transportation. So local optimization within functions, if it happens, okay, or local optimization if within a stage of a supply chain happens, okay, that creates obstacle to achieve coordination. Okay, incentive that focus only on local impact of an action. For example, incentives, okay, that focus only on the local impact of an action, okay, act as an obstacle in achieving coordination. For example, incentive for transportation manager. Say there is a company, it has a supply chain department, okay, and within supply chain there is a transportation manager. So when the transportation manager's performance appraisal is done, okay, so his performance appraisal will be done basically based on so how much cost he saved to the company on account of transportation. So knowing this, the transportation manager will tend to choose that mode of transportation and that transportation company, okay, which will have lower cost. Okay, say for example, okay, train is one among the mode of transportation which has lower cost. But by choosing a train mode of transportation, the transportation manager may achieve efficiency. The transportation cost will be lower, but okay, it affects the responsiveness directly. Okay, so the lead times increase. Okay, the time taken to deliver an order increases as, okay, the mode of transportation is very slower one. Okay, so the slow mode of transportation, though it is economical, but affects the inventory. The customers have to maintain a higher level of inventory along with them, and increased lead time decreases the accuracy of forecasts. So this way, when the transportation manager's incentives are only, okay, associated with the transportation cost, so these kind of local optimization within functions or incentive that focus only on the local impact of an action create a hurdle or barrier in achieving coordination in a supply chain. Okay, similarly, sales force incentive for sales representatives based on sell-in. Okay. Say for example, okay. So if sales representative incentives are based on from sale from company to wholesaler. Okay, that is how in India most of the companies, okay, provide a incentive for sales reps. So from manufacturer company to manufacturer. So we call it sell-in. Okay, but how much the wholesaler out of, so let us say wholesaler has purchased, a sales representative has taken order from a wholesaler, okay, let us say for 10 lakh rupee worth goods, okay, and the company is giving incentives based on the 20 lakh order taken from the wholesaler. So the sale happened from company to wholesaler, we call it sell-in. Okay. But what about how much of the 10 lakh rupee goods are sold from wholesaler to retailer is not taken into consideration while giving incentive for sales force. Okay, so what happens if the wholesaler is unable to sell, okay, the goods to retailer, a lot of unsold stock remains with the wholesaler, okay, and let us say the wholesaler is able to sell only worth 6 lakh rupee goods to retailers. So he's still left with 4 lakh rupee goods with him. So when he places an order for the next month, okay, his order will be only for 6 lakh rupee goods. So the order drastically comes down. So this again, sales force incentives based on sell-in acts as one of the obstacles in achieving coordination in supply chain. Then second obstacle, information processing obstacles. So information, when we say, basically we are talking about forecasting. So forecasting based on orders and not based on consumer demand. We have learned it even in okay, sales forecasting chapter. Okay, the forecasting that are based on orders. Okay, let us say if we consider a company, okay, in a supply chain where there are 5 stages: consumer, retailer, wholesaler, manufacturer, and supplier. So in such a case, so generally a manufacturer will okay, do the forecasting based on the orders from the wholesalers. But whereas the actual demand is in the retail store. So where the consumers come to the retail store, purchase the product. So the actual demand is okay in retail stores. But that point is not at all considered. That customer demand is not at all considered in forecasting, because forecasting is made based on the orders sent by distributors or wholesalers. So this drastically reduces the accuracy of demand forecasting. So the orders of the wholesalers will be definitely larger or greater than the orders placed by the retailers to wholesalers. So definitely again there will be increase in demand which is not real, and the companies arrange to manufacture that additional order. Okay, so when they manufacture the goods and supply the goods to distributor, okay, they end up learning that the demand has stabilized. Okay, again unsold inventory of goods remain in the supply chain. So forecasting demand based on orders from the wholesalers magnifies the demand fluctuations moving up the supply chain from retailer to manufacturer to suppliers. Then a lack of information sharing. Okay, let us say the retailers and wholesalers are unwilling to share information because there is no trust in the supply chain. So in that case, the manufacturer will be forced to do demand forecasting based on the orders from the wholesalers itself. Or in a country like India, as I mentioned, where the unorganized retailing is around 92 to 94% of the retail market is unorganized, and this unorganized retailing is dominated by kirana stores, very small kirana stores who do not use hardly any technology. They hardly use any technology, so it is hardly impossible, okay, highly impossible for the manufacturer to connect with the retailers or kirana stores in India. So that is the reason why manufacturer may not have any data on customer demand from the retail end. Okay, but if we consider a country like America, okay, where the penetration of organized retailing is up to 92 to 94%, and only around 6 to 8% of the retail market is unorganized. Okay, so when I say organized retailing, so these are organized retail chains. Okay, so they will have softwares, servers, and if they're willing, definitely they can share data with the manufacturers. And I hope you remember that organized retail chains are business customers. They buy directly from the manufacturers, not from wholesalers. So, but that is where I'm talking about the positive side, where information can be shared. But when information cannot be shared, okay, about the customer demand from the retail end, okay, it reduces the accuracy of demand forecasting. Okay, so around 3 minutes are remaining now. Okay, so we learned okay, two obstacles, incentive obstacles and information processing obstacles. Okay, so if you have any questions, I'm going to unmute you again. So once again, I request you, those students who do not have any question, kindly mute your audio immediately. Okay. Yes, any questions? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you have a question? Any doubt to be clarified?
No, no.
Okay, thank you. Shweta Halingali, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, okay. So I'm going to mute you all again. Yeah. So another, yeah, about 2.5 minutes are remaining. So I'll complete one more obstacle. So before I conclude the class today. Okay. So now the third obstacle that we're going to learn is the operational obstacles. Actions taken in the course of placing and filling orders that lead to an increase in variability. Okay. Actions taken in the course of placing and filling orders. So a manufacturer, okay. So what actions it takes in the course of placing an order for raw materials with the suppliers and filling orders. Filling orders means supplying the orders of the wholesalers or the customers that lead to an increase in variability. So let us see what are these operational obstacles. Ordering in large lots. Okay. See, the manufacturer, okay, may order in a large quantities, okay, with the suppliers to avail quantity discounts. So I hope you should remember that in business marketing, okay, or in marketing. So generally, okay, when a buyer places a larger order, he gets a larger discounts. Okay. So the other party, let's say if the manufacturer is placing a larger order, okay, with the supplier of raw materials, the supplier of raw material may assume that there is an increase in demand. That is what we are talking, magnifying the fluctuations in the demand. Now, large replenishment lead times. See, the time taken to deliver an order is called as lead time. So, okay, if a wholesalers are placing order with the manufacturer and manufacturer takes a long time, okay, to supply the orders. Okay, so in that case also the orders keep on going, accumulate. We call them backlog orders, and when a large number of backlog orders accumulate, okay, the company may assume that there is an increase in demand. Okay, so rationing and shortage gaming, okay, is slightly complicated. I'll explain it in the next class. I thank you all for your active participation. So immediately I'm going to begin Salesforce management class. So marketing students, please stay back. Do not go out. I repeat, I'm going to begin Salesforce management class immediately. So I request all the marketing students to stay back. Within 10 minutes, I'm going to begin Salesforce management class. Thank you.